The regular council meeting to order for Monday, June 13th.
Oh, wait a minute.
Our first order of business, item 2, is new councillor business. 2.1, Councillor Rogers.
Yes, Your Worship, as the attachment that's there, that's just a notice of motion for our next meeting. I thought I'd give everybody fair warning on that. If that's okay if I bring that forward at the next meeting?
Sure. Thank you. Any other business, Councillor Rogers? For you?
No, I got mayor's business.
Okay.
You want me to take care of that then, or?
Yep, we'll do it then.
I think so.
Thank you. Councillor McFadden.
Thank you. I had occasion last week to attend a regional airport operators seminar in Edmonton. It was very interesting. It was made up of regional, municipal, and district airports from northern Alberta right across to northern Ontario. It was mainly operators discussing some of the challenges they have and what they've done to overcome those challenges. There was very little handout material, but I do have some information here that I'll put on the file with staff, and if anybody wants to read it, they certainly can. Basically, everybody has the same issues in smaller and regional airports. Never quite enough money, never quite enough equipment, but so we're not unique. But I'll leave that information with staff, and anybody who wants to look at it can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Further business, Councillor Wilbur.
So yeah, at our last meeting we had talked about the community awards, so I did get a hold of the executive director at the chamber, and really it boiled down to low registration for the banquet, and it wasn't cost effective, and so the board had felt there was, they put it out to the members felt there was better ways to spend their money. I will be meeting with the executive director and the incoming president here in a couple days, and we have some ideas and possibilities moving forward that would work and would not be expensive. So I'll move forward with that and bring it back and see if that's something that council sees as working. I know other communities don't have a banquet. It's kind of done in council chambers at a certain time of year, so I think that's probably the way to go. But I will meet with them and see how that works. Love Dawson Creek, we have 53 members. We have 11 pending and 1 waiting approval. And I just helped 3 other businesses apply, so hopefully they get on board. So we're growing. NDIT is working on an ad that will play before the movies at the theater all summer and into the fall, as well as a postcard mail out. So that'll get that program some recognition. And we're participating in Show and Shine the whole weekend. So we'll be set up in Charles Cook's Cardo's lot, and we'll have the water fill station there and some frames for everyone to get their picture with, and we'll be promoting that, shopping local, and hopefully we see some gain out of that for our local businesses downtown. The health committee, we have kind of a date out there. We're waiting to get feedback on what works for everybody as we're going into summer, so we want to get them together. We've looked through several bylaws and constitutions of other not-for-profit groups and narrowed down with what will fit for us. So we'll move forward on getting that application in and becoming a not-for-profit organization. So I have also let the Terry Fox Foundation know that I will again this year get a group together, and we will be hosting a Terry Fox run in September. So that application went in yesterday, and we'll be moving forward for that. So you're going to hear lots about that coming forward, and I'll be encouraging everybody to participate, and hopefully we can outdo ourselves that we did last year. And just probably, I guess, our last note on the NCLGA AGM that we hosted. We had the most delegates in 61 years, and our final total is $62,000. So we've raised the most money in 61 years as well. So big thank you to the committee and Councillor Schumann and Brenda and Lindsay and everybody. We left some big shoes to fill, so I think we've left NCLGA in a good position moving forward. So we did well. And then I had the pleasure this weekend, my mom came up and I took her to the Chetwynd Chainsaw Carvings, and I've never been before, and outstanding what those carvers accomplish in 36 hours, and actually what they accomplished in an hour. The fast carve was absolutely amazing, and tons of people there. I've seen lots of people from Dawson Creek in different areas, and so congratulations to Chetwynd on another job well done. That's all I got.
Thank you so much, and so congrats, and obviously the appreciation for NCLGA was a big deal for what you guys have done, and thanks for going to chainsaw carving. I wasn't able to go, so appreciate that. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, I attended the Federation of Canadian Municipalities conference with you. Are you going to talk about that under Mayor's business, or do you want to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's lots to share, so I'll try and be as succinct as possible. First of all, it was a very rich experience from the point of view of the visits to the St. Boniface, spending a lot of time understanding in a richer, deeper way the history of Canada, the plight of Métis, and how the Francophone community was treated. Much of that was done in my personal time, but I did go on a tour arranged by FCM, and that has left some deep impressions with me. So I think that was one thing. I totally amazed at Winnipeg. I had an image of Winnipeg that was completely wrong. I can see why it's one of the places cited by National Geographic as a place to go in 2016. It's just incredible. I went on a tour looking at the public art and the involvement of the Winnipeg municipal government, city government, in supporting public art. The curator of the gallery and others, we're working on looking at bringing something to council. I've given a copy of a handout toward exploring Winnipeg's public art, and if you like to look at that, you can. It's also interesting how different corporations sponsor public art. It's just very interesting. I went to a session also, and I've given a copy of this this publication here to Shaylee as our liaison to the Chamber of Commerce, The Survival of Main Street Retail in a Digital World, and I went to that presentation, and I interacted with the CEO of economic development from a couple of communities where, of course, it's led in those communities by Chamber of Commerce, and it's all privately or largely privately sponsored. So that was interesting thing. I spent some time at the trade show because there were a couple of things there that interest me, and I've passed one thing on to my colleague, Councillor Javatkov, as a liaison or as his involvement in the Dawson Creek Athletic Association, because I'm very interested, I'm sure we all are, about field houses and so I spent some time with a company that manufactures a whole bunch of these things, produces them, puts them up in different countries in the world, and I was surprised how cheap they are to put up. So I know the Athletic Association, some people have talked to me about field houses, so that's going to be passed on to them. The other was around traffic suppression, and that was interesting. About how community now, one of the things that always interested me in this community, I know it's a sensitive issue, is speed arresters. You know, those bumps, and I noticed one in Pustupi, where you can just lift it up for the winter so you can clear the snow. So I found that totally interesting. The resolution side, I just thought I'd just share, give a flavour for a few of the resolutions in the plenary session. You could spend all day talking about some of those things. But all but one of these plenary resolutions passed really about 97%. I'll share the one that was a lot more of informed debate about. Homelessness is an issue facing many communities. And there was a resolution put forward by the Fraser Valley Regional District that was almost acclaimed, I think, whatever this word is, unanimously. And it's around amending the criteria for eligibility for funding, the registry, because this isn't just a big city thing. This is all over the place. And there was some interesting speeches made about that. So that passed. I called upon the federal government to review the eligibility criteria, expand its registry, and that was a good thing because, as I say, homelessness is everywhere. It's not just a big city thing. One from the Caribou Regional District passed almost unanimously, I'm sure. At least it was 90-something%. And this is all to do with the National Orange Shirt Day. One of the things that as a sidebar, that I was totally struck by in Winnipeg is the degree to which the acknowledgement of Truth and Reconciliation Commission's work has been followed up on by programs and by commemorative art and plaques. It's all over the place, and the plight of Aboriginal women. So it was resolved that the federal government to officially declare September the 30th National Orange Shirt Day, a national day to honor residential school survivors, their families, and their communities, to ensure that public commemoration of the history and legacy of residential schools remains a vital component of the reconciliation process. And that was put forward by the Caribou Regional District. And that was, as I say, well supported. And another one that was very well supported is the National Pharmacare Program, put forward by, many communities, that the FCM call on the federal government to work with the provinces and territories to develop and implement a national pharmacare program, and the need for it was well heard. And just one final one from the City of Toronto. Be resolved that the Federation of Canadian Municipalities support the Government of Canada's commitment to the COP21 Paris Climate Agreement, and that we acknowledge the need to limit global temperature increases to below 2 degrees, and that they're calling upon them to incorporate those goals and advocacy throughout the country. And the FCM call on the Government of Canada to develop policies and programs in consultation with the FCM and its member municipalities that will support municipal efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions at the local level, consistent with the need to limit global temperature increases to below 2 degrees Celsius, and to pursue efforts to limit global temperature increase to 1.5. This was the most hotly debated one of all. Some very reasoned arguments on both sides. It did pass about 60-40. So they were the plenary resolutions. I won't deal with all the other things that happened there. Well worth going. Apart from the personal interactions you have with people, and in this case, for me, a deeper understanding of Métis issues. The work the FCM does on behalf of municipalities, I think we all benefit from it. So that's just a brief report.
Thank you so much, and thank you for attending. It was an awakening in lots of respects, as you've said, about Winnipeg and the region. Certainly for me as well. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Javetkov.
I'd like to make a motion regarding the airport extension that we've included into the 5-year plan now, and ask administration to actively pursue any grants that are available.
So we can't make motions under councillor business?
But I'd like to bring
it back.
to mayor's business.
Sure, okay. Good. Absolutely, thank you. Further councillor business? Good, thank you. Next item is our item 3, minutes of our special meeting of council for adoption for May 27th. Councillor McFadden, Councillor Schumann, any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. 3-2, we have the minutes of our regular meeting of council for May 30th for adoption. Councillor Parslow, seconded Councillor Wilbur. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Any business arising out of those minutes? Correspondence. Item 5.1, we have a letter from Mr. Blaine Massey, President of the Mile Zero Cruisers, requesting permission to use city-owned vacant parking lots. Councillor McFadden?
I'll make the motion that we agree to their request to use those 3 parking lots for the, on Sunday, for the summer cruise.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Parslow. Discussion. Jim, any aspect to this?
No, Your Worship, they're already blocking off the roads and everything down there. They've never asked for these private lots before, but no reason not to
Good. Thank you.
provide them.
Any further discussion? Comments? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 5.2, we have a letter from Carla Wheatman. Request for the use of the Ancana Zamboni at the 2016 Grad Red Carpet event. Jim, before we make a motion, can you give us the issues that council should be aware of in granting or considering this request?
So first off, of course, would be that the Ancana Zamboni is, we'd have to request that from Ryan, but I'm sure he would, if that was council's will, that he would accept that. It's not licensed for the road, so it would have to go on a flatbed trailer. They are indicating in the letter that they have both the trailer and the people who would put it on and take it off the trailer, so shouldn't be a cost item to you, but it would have to be on the trailer.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parslow?
So move that we, subject to approval by the necessary people, that we support that.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Schumann. Discussion.
I kind of liked, so, oh, sorry.
Councillor McFadden?
I guess, is there any liability? What if somebody falls off the Zamboni and cracks their head? Are we liable for that in any way?
Well, I imagine we would be sued, but the school district takes in hand the red carpet facility. We close the roadway that, or parking lot, depending on your view, in front of the soccer park and the stretch of 120th that leads to Ancana. The school district marshals all of the vehicles, and then the school district runs them through one at a time. So,
Thank you.
Councillor Javetkov?
The other thing would be any damage to the machine. Who would be responsible?
well, I would assume they are, but those machines are pretty hard to damage. I mean, it's used to be our practice to run the one of the Zambonis from the Memorial Arena. We licensed and ran it over to the speed skating oval. That used to be our regime till they acquired one of our old ones. Notionally, sitting on the machine ought not to damage it in any way. Getting it up and off of the trailer would be a concern, except I note that it's one of the city mechanics that's going to be doing that for them.
Thank you. Further discussion, comments? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Letter 5.3, Councillor Javetkov, I'm just going to ask if you're going to excuse yourself from this one.
I will.
Thank you. We have item 5.3. We have a letter from Melanie Treble, the Secretary of the Dawson Creek Ski and Recreation Association, regarding a letter of support for the project of snowmaking upgrades and expansion. Councillor Parslow?
So moved.
Moves. Seconded. Councillor Wilbur. Discussion. Go ahead.
Well, I think the facility there and what it provides to our community is wonderful. So if there's some money to be got, to support it, we should support that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, I agree. Also, this coming winter, I heard it's going to be an El Nino, and we're going to get lots of snow. So we're going to be great up there for snow this year, for sure. But
Thank goodness we got some money in the bank from this spring. See how we always just go right to snow removal, right? Not the benefits of skiing
Anyways,
or
I'll
cross-country
just
skiing,
read it.
snow
El Nino
removal.
is bringing us lots of snow this year.
Can we just get this summer?
No, I'm
Further,
excited already.
further comments, further question? You ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. We're a little ahead of our 9 o'clock for our delegation, so we'll move to reports. Report 7.1 is 16087 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding our back billing of utility charges policy. This, Councillor Parslow.
I move that report number 16-087 from the Chief Financial Officer, back billing of utility charges policy, be received. Further, that the back billing of utility charges policy attached to this report be approved pending the 30-day review period.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Rogers. Discussion. Councillor Parslow.
I think our policy is aligned with what other groups do, and I think it's a reasonable period of time that we back bill. So I expect it will receive wide support.
Thank you. Further comments? Further questions? You ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Report 7.2, we have report number 16091 from the Director of Community Services regarding our 2016 ditch cutting. Councillor Rogers.
Move that report number 16-091 from the Director of Community Services regarding the 2016 ditch cutting be received. Further, that council award RFQ 2016-16 to AgriWorks Services, Inc. for the lump sum price of $19,732 per cut plus applicable taxes, and further that further that the contract be awarded for a 3-year term commencing June 13th, 2016 and ending December 31st, 2018.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Javetkov. Discussion. Councillor McFadden and Councillor Javetkov.
Who decides, $19,000 per cut, who decides how often they cut?
God.
Through you, Your Worship, the Director of Community Services, Mr. Redfern, makes an election whether there'll be a second cut or not, depending on growth. This year, there certainly will, given our growing conditions, and his budget accommodates 2 cuts.
Thank you.
Councillor Javetkov.
So we got one bid. Is this in line with previous years, or?
Jim.
Yeah, so through you, Your Worship, somehow Duncan has managed to have the first tender this year that came in at a higher price than last year, by a couple $100. But you'll note on the map, he also added an entire area from 90th Avenue up to the hillside corner, both sides. So it's a little bit more, but it is quite a bit more work as well.
And this is one of those, the growth of your community, when you see the residential development that's going on in the north and different areas, that adds then to the necessity of additional space, additional area, additional roads that are going to be incorporated into the community requiring that maintenance. So thank you. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. For 7.3, we have report number 16090 from the Director of Community Services regarding our municipal facilities hazardous material abatement and demolition. Councillor Schumann.
I move report number 16090 from the Director of Community Services regarding the 2016 municipal facilities hazardous material abatement and demolition be received. Further, that council award tenders 2016-19 to Dakota Reclamators Limited for the lump sum of $731,810. Sorry, and applicable taxes.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Wilbur. Discussion. Councillor Wilbur.
One, I'll lend my glasses to Councillor Schumann. I had mentioned it when we were discussing this before, and I just want, through you to staff again, I'm just wondering, within this, is there salvage rights? I'd like to see as little as possible go to our landfill, so if there's salvageable material, does the contractor have the ability to do that?
Jim.
Through Your Worship, the salvage belongs to the contractor, but they're not obligated to recycle.
Okay.
If they believe it's in their financial interest to landfill it rather than recycle it, they may.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our initial estimates on this through our capital budget planning process of $1.5 million, obviously $730,000 is a significant difference in terms of what we had anticipated this capital project's costing us. So we'll cut him some slack a little bit on the 20 grand that he added to the ditch cutting. Any further questions or comment? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Report 16092 from the Director of Infrastructure regarding request for proposals for the Drainage Master Plan. Councillor Parslow.
Move report 16092 from the Director of Infrastructure, request for proposals 2016-15, Drainage Master Plan be received. Further, that Council award request for proposals 2016-15, Drainage Master Plan to Opus Data Knight Consultants Limited for $110,905, not including GST.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Schumann. Discussion. Councillor Parslow.
As the report indicates, staff, the city over time has been developing quite a inventory of the condition of various aspects of the infrastructure of the community, and this just is filling a hole that's there right now, no pun intended, that just gives us information for long-term capital planning.
Absolutely. Thank you. Further questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Report number 75, report number 16085 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding our recording devices policy. Councillor Wilburn.
Shall remove that report number 16-085 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding the recording devices policy be received. Further, that the recording devices policy be formally approved as originally presented.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Schumann. Discussion. This is the report that obviously came back, has been in the works for us in terms of developing the policy on that recording devices issue in terms of providing clarity for users in city-owned facilities, and especially as it came forward from the Aquatic Center. So it's great to have it in place and provide clarity for us and our users and our residents. So thank you for that to administration for taking that forward and getting that done. Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Report number 16086 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding the Peace Country Roots Group lease agreement. Councillor Parslow.
The report 16-086 from the Director of Corporate Administration re Peace Country Roots Group lease be received. Further, that the attached lease agreement between the City of Dawson Creek and the Peace Country Roots Group be approved beginning on June the 1st, 2016 and ending on December the 31st, 2021 at a cost of $1 per term, with an option to renew every 5 years until such time that the premise is no longer suitable due to the state of the building, or until such time that a decision about archives has been made which requires transfer of all historical records to a single venue.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Schumann. Discussion. Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. I think we're at 9 o'clock, and so we'll move to delegations at this time. Item 6.1, we have Mr. Barry Young, Mr. Day Roberts, Legion members, I believe Legion President, Mr. Young and Day Roberts in attendance regarding the Legion Week proclamation and the request to appear before council. So first, we'll ask you to come up and we'll do our delegation proclamation, and then you'll have the floor for your presentation. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. Much longer than myself.
Yeah, much longer. Good morning. Welcome. Whereas the government of British Columbia has issued a formal proclamation of Legion Week, June 24th to 30th in British Columbia, and the Dawson Creek Branch 141 has been a part of this community for 80 years. Dave was not the original founding member.
No, of course not.
And whereas all Canadian Legion branches are dedicated to assisting veterans, their families, seniors, and others, Dawson Creek Branch 141 over the past 80 years has donated thousands of dollars raised through the annual Poppy campaign to individuals, organizations, and facilities such as the Dawson Creek and District Hospital and Rotary Manor. Dawson Creek Branch also organizes the annual Remembrance Day service each year on November 11th. And whereas, seeing that all organizations are in constant need of renewal, that Legion Week be used to welcome any interested resident of Dawson Creek and area who is a Canadian citizen and over the age of 18 to become a Legion member. Now therefore I do hereby proclaim the week of June 24th to 30th, 2016 as Legion Week in Dawson Creek. Congratulations, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, we appreciate the efforts and obviously the contribution of Legion members into our community. And so it's an honor to be able to sign the proclamation. And I'll give you the delegation floor and you can have your opportunity at your presentation.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Worship, councillors, administration staff. Contrary to the proclamation, we received our charter November 4th, 1932, so we've been here 84 years. We started with 14 charter members from World War I. Our mandate is to care for veterans, ex-service personnel, and their families. We maintain the tradition of remembrance through our Poppy campaign and the Remembrance Day services. As mentioned in the proclamation, over the years we have contributed many thousands of dollars to quite a number of organizations, including the hospital, senior citizens, and the care home facilities. We also fund 3 $1,000 scholarships annually. We support Meals on Wheels monetarily and Step Up and Ride, and we have money to go to Step Up and Ride sometime this week in the order of, I believe, $3,000. We also support heavily our 353 Air Cadet Squadron. All this money comes from our Poppy Trust campaign, or Poppy Trust Fund, from our Poppy Trust and the collection and selling of poppies. All that money is kept in this community through requests from hospitals, and none of the money leaves this community. We do not have any money from the Poppy Trust Fund either, including administration. So all the money goes to veterans and their families. Unfortunately, our membership is dwindling, and that's because of deaths, transfers, members moving. So once again, at the end of this month, we have to move. Comrade Roberts found an area that we feel would be suitable for us. It has a square footage of between 220 and 250 square feet. 420 and 450 square feet, which we feel we could move our office paraphernalia into this area. The owner of the building is asking $600 a month rent, which includes the utilities. Now we have, I should say, Comrade Roberts has found a couple of other buildings roughly the same size, and they're asking at least twice that for rent plus utilities. I would like to take this opportunity to extend our appreciation and grateful and thanks to you, the mayor, and the council for having helped us in housing in the last couple of years. However, we are here now in the hopes that this council may be able to help us monetarily in our endeavor to continue in our work. For without a home, we're going to find it extremely difficult to continue to help veterans, ex-members, and their families, and it's going to make it extremely difficult for us to go on with our poppy campaign. So we are hoping that this council will take a look at possibly helping us with some kind of rent easement of some kind.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in this morning. Obviously, as we've gone through this last couple of years in helping the Legion, we certainly appreciate, first of all, obviously the effort, the work, and the importance of the Legion in our community, in any community, and the support to our veterans. And so we appreciate both yourself and Dave coming in this morning to first for the proclamation, obviously for your request to the community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to questions. Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. In your presentation, you talked about veterans, yes, which I understand, and ex-service people. What's the distinction?
That may be a little difficult. Veterans used to be described as the military people that served overseas in wartime. It kind of now has expanded to include military people that not necessarily have served in any conflict. They have served in the peacetime and retired. And that includes them, even though they never saw a bullet fired in anger, and their families. And that pretty much covers most of the military.
So why is there a distinction? And if well, I mean, I'm excuse me.
Yep, go ahead.
Well, I understood. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. What you just said. The word veteran includes people who've actually engaged in military action, served overseas, but it now it also includes all ex-service people, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so fine. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Jim?
Just through your worship to Barrier Day. So as I understand, you'd be looking for this help with the private space, but you still require the skate shack for your poppy supplies?
Yes, we would.
And what about moving? Like the last time, you've been through the moves several times recently, and the last time you had indicated to us that private moving companies who had been donating their time had perhaps reached the limit of that generosity, and you might need help with the moving as well. How are you at with the moving?
Yes, we've had, this will be our third move in 4 years. And to say that we're overjoyed, we're not, because moving can be very hectic. And each time we move, we downsize and try to get rid of some of the items we don't need. But we've asked Dawson Creek Moving and Storage, Dave Nelson, for I think about 4 or 5 moves. And each time he sent over his crew and they've done the job. And then when we ask for a bill, oh no charge, it's the Legion. So I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to rely on.
But you're hoping for another time.
Well, yes, that's fine. But 3 moves in 4 years is quite a bit. We're all too willing to make the movie, but our problem is we have to have a place to move to. And I toured with Duncan Redfern, different places that might be suitable, and any place with stairs is kind of dynamite for our members. Our own building that we occupied at the corner of 9th Street and 102nd for 41 years had nothing but stairs. It was the worst designed building, but the members contended with it. But a lot of them just can't negotiate stairs anymore. So we had hopes that possibly we would be able to find a space in the K-Pac. And we did ask Terry Heinen if there was a possibility of using one of the meeting rooms, but she indicated that they're far too busy and that they wouldn't consider a lease on any of them. So that was out. But as I say, we're willing to move, but we have to have a place to move to. And this commercial outlet would suit our purposes. And we were hoping that perhaps there's a grant available that would enable us to make that move.
Thanks, Dave. Councillor Javeka?
The poppy money can only be used for charitable, right?
Yes.
So, do you have any other fundraising systems that would allow you to raise money for the rent?
We do, but we don't bring in a lot.
So, that building that you're looking at, is that a long-term lease, or is that something that the $600 a month is going to increase annually, or and are there any other costs that are associated with it, like over and above the 600?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, and the owner is willing to entertain the idea of a long-term lease. He said 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever.
Thank you. Councillor Wilbur?
Yeah, so this stuff that's stored, that's for your poppy campaign, that's kind of the stuff that you would be storing in that area at the Memorial Arena, or I guess what I'm thinking is accessibility obviously is the issue to using the office. Is there any way to utilize those two spaces by reversing them, by storing the stuff in the office upstairs and using the other space as your meeting area? I don't know, maybe staff can answer that as well, but to me it looks like the space you would use for meetings has an accessibility issue. So I'm wondering if it's a one-time year that you're bringing that stuff out to store, then there's ability to maybe assist with that from the community, and you could reverse that space. I'm just wondering if that was looked at.
I think the skate shack was too small for office
To me,
space.
okay.
Yeah, the skate shack is 11 feet by 13, which is very small. And you couldn't hold a meeting in it.
Okay.
And we do have office equipment, desk and filing cabinets, a computer desk, and other things that we would have to move. So it just wouldn't house all that.
No, fair enough. I just wanted to make sure the question was asked, so that was covered. Okay. So really accessibility is the issue. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll, obviously we'll bring this request back under Mayor's business later in the agenda, and we'll deal with it, Council will deal with it at that time. So thank you for coming in this morning. We appreciate, obviously, the presentation and your request.
Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Item 6.2, we have Peter Nielsen from the City of Dawson Creek, and Walter Andreef, the Canadian Solar Cities Project, and Joanne Dewick, Peace Energy Cooperative, in attendance. Big substitution. Good morning.
And
How are you guys?
won't even stay
Welcome,
in our
welcome,
office
welcome.
anymore.
Good to see you again. It's been a while. See all these guys at
We can
353
get grant
Squadron
for
Awards
the
last
Legion.
night.
I would think so.
Welcome. It's good to have you here this morning. Whereas throughout history, people worldwide have celebrated the summer solstice and recognized the power and energy of the sun and its importance to all life on the planet. And whereas on June 24th, the City of Dawson Creek will be promoting solar technologies and sustainable communities throughout our community, British Columbia, and Canada. Now therefore I do hereby proclaim June 24th, 2016 as Solar Day in Dawson Creek and encourage all residents in and around the surrounding community to celebrate the benefits of solar energy. Solar Day in Dawson Creek.
Yay.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you. Thank you. So the floor is yours if you want to say a few words.
Well, just a brief word about Solar Days. So every year, the city supports Solar Days. This year it's being held at Pioneer Village at the grand opening, 1:30 to 5 on Friday. So come on down and learn a little bit more about solar. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Quick words. Well,
Yeah.
thank you from Peace Energy Cooperative to the city for supporting renewable energy. I think it's, it's nice to see it on the buildings that the city is looking that way and showing residents that it is possible.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks again for coming in.
Thanks, guys.
Item 6.3, we have Anna Avey, Evelyn Cudarelli, Julie Morcino, and Denise Paul Belcourt in attendance from Aboriginal Family Services are in attendance regarding our National Aboriginal Day proclamation. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. It's good to see you guys. Welcome back, nice to see you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome. Good morning, good morning, welcome. Good morning. Come up front, please. So I'm just gonna say one quick thing before we read the proclamation. And Councillor Parslow gave a great update on our visit to Winnipeg a week or so ago at our Federation of Canadian Municipalities meeting. And it was an opportunity for me personally to go home to my Métis great-great-grandfather who was buried in St. Francis Xavier just outside of Winnipeg. So it's a real pleasure to be here today with you to read the proclamation celebrating Aboriginal Day. Thank you for coming in.
Your Worship,
Yes.
if I might, Leah Morrison is the new executive director with the Nowickan Friendship Center, and Carolyn is from the Nowickan as well.
Nice to see you guys. So whereas the Constitution of Canada recognizes the existing rights of the Aboriginal people of Canada, and whereas in the Constitution of Canada, Aboriginal peoples of Canada include the Inuit, Indian, and Métis people of Canada, and whereas the Aboriginal people of Canada have made and continue to make valuable contributions to Canadian society, and it is considered appropriate that there be, in each year, a day to mark and celebrate these contributions and to recognize the different cultures of the Aboriginal people of Canada. And whereas many Aboriginal people celebrate the summer solstice, which has an important symbolism within their cultures. And whereas the Governor General of Canada has proclaimed June 21st of each year as National Aboriginal Day, now therefore I do hereby proclaim June 21st, 2016 as National Aboriginal Day in Dawson Creek. So congratulations, congratulations. Thank you so much. And please, the floor is yours if you'd like to say a few words.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for our Aboriginal Day. We are celebrating at Pioneer Village. And hope you guys all come out. There's going to be good dancers, good performers. This year we're representing a lot of our Aboriginal displays. We have Tishna that's coming in. She's a good designer. She does a lot of designs and she's all over the world. Her stuff are all unique and she makes everything. A lot of her dresses are thought of from herself and just they're beautiful. So we're gonna have a modeling show so we can represent our Aboriginal people that are successful in a lot of things. Like Earl Lambert's gonna be there, and we're gonna have Clinton Soto who travels with his family all over to support Aboriginal culture. So hope you guys all come and it will be nice.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming in this morning.
Yes,
Thank you.
We'd like to
Yeah.
just invite everyone out to ours as well. It'll be on June 24th at Northern Lights College from 5 to 11. We hope to see everyone out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks again for coming in this morning, ladies.
Thank you.
Your Worship, I might add that School District 59 is going to be putting on an event as well at Nchaga and I believe the Nowickan is partnering with the Northern Lights College as well, and that event's going to be out at the college.
Perfect. Thank you. Item 6.4. Something in my eye. We have Wendy Davies.
too?
Huh? We have Wendy Davies from the BCSBCA in attendance regarding the 2016 Community Challenge Kennel Lockup presentation. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, guys. I'm so excited to be here today because, you know, we've all done some really amazing things together. You know, amazing animal bylaws and new facility that I'll be reporting to you guys on soon. But today is a little bit of fun. So if all of you know, we hold our, just in case you don't know, this is has been our 4th annual May Community Challenge, where we challenge, this is part of our fundraising, the work we do to support our own shelter. And so between May 1st and May 31st, every year we battle North Peace to see who can raise the most money for their shelters. Of course, it's a win-win for the animals, and our signature event for the challenge is our annual kennel lockup. We have held our 2nd annual kennel lockup, and both years our wonderful mayor, Dale Bumstead, has been nominated by his dog Tucker to come down and spend some time. He has graciously done so each year, and this year we've actually had a little bit of a challenge going on amongst the kennel lockup, and the person who was able to raise the most money, raise their impound fees and the most money for the shelter, it gets an award this year. And this year our honorable mayor, Dale Bumstead, was the winner of this award. So,
well, it was actually Tucker, I think.
Well,
I was gonna say, yeah.
Did a lot of great work. And I think that the SPCA accounts Wendell and Will had some input in it as well. You're welcome. So thank you very much for coming down and supporting us.
My pleasure. And I honestly,
Wonderful event.
I feel a little bit guilty, a little bit, just a little bit. But if it wasn't for social media, you go down there and you sit in the kennel for an hour. Tuck don't like, my dog don't like it. He thinks he should be home on the leather couch. I want to be in the kennel. But without the generosity of friends and folks in the community, I put a plea out and in a very short order people supported it. So it's such a great cause, and we really are happy to participate in it. So thank you.
Wonderful. So in honor of the 2016 Community Challenge, Mayor Bumstead is our most valuable pooch in the pound.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll put it on Tucker's trophy case. It's the only one.
I was gonna say, it's all because Tucker's so photogenic.
It's the only one he's got. Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
He's an old pooch, but he's a valuable pooch. You're not over 13 or
Item 6.5, we have Liz Reed from Girl Guides of Canada in attendance with a request to use Kin Park for the Aurora District Day Camp. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
I'm really
Do you want to come up and sit at the mayor's desk, and then it'll help ease your,
No, that might make-
calm your nerves.
Don't be nervous.
You'll be just fine. We promise.
Okay. I'm Liz Reed. I'm the commissioner for Girl Guides Aurora District. And I'm here asking if we could use Kin Park on 110th Avenue, that flat space by ball grounds, for our day camp. And this day camp will be for our Sparkling Brownie units. And usually every year we have our day camp either at our camp, which is 30 minutes out of town in Progress, or we have it indoors. This year we would like to have it outdoors in town to kind of bring attention, like public attention to Girl Guides, in hopes of gaining new members and volunteers. As in the past few years, our membership has been dwindling quite a bit. And we are right at the verge of losing our status as a district. So we were really hoping that being out in the public really helps. I know with cookie sales, we haven't been able to do a lot out in the public due to either our lack of leaders or lack of spaces to sell cookies, because a lot of stores won't let us in there because it's in direct competition with the cookies they sell. So we're hoping to have this public space to have our day camp.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Questions?
Oh, and it'll be June 26th from 1 to 4.
Perfect. Questions from Council? Councillor Javetkov?
So does that include all the brownies and all the way up through the system?
Yeah, we will, the camp itself will be for the younger groups, with the older groups running the stations.
So what are the ages for, or what are the categories? I'm not familiar with the...
Well, we have Sparks, which is kindergarten and grade 1. Brownies is grade 2 and grade 3. Guides is grades 4, 5, and 6. Then we have Pathfinders, which is grades 7, 8, and 9. And Rangers is grades 10, 11, and 12. And after grade 12, they become junior leaders and then leaders if they would like.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Wilbur?
I just want to say, though, hats off to some of your Girl Guides, because I know they sold lots of cookies here at City Hall and around. So hats off to Michaela Love, because she's keeping it going in the community.
Oh, she's a little cookie. She's a cookie seller, that's for sure.
She's going to be a true leader, that girl.
Thank you. So you did amazing. You did a great job.
And we decided.
So we appreciate you coming in, obviously, in twofold, raising obviously the awareness of such an important organization for the youth in our communities, and so we appreciate the work that you've done, obviously, in helping build that. And we will bring this back under Mayor's business, your request for the use of the park.
Okay,
And it'll be shortly in our agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great job. Item 6.6. Oh, yes.
We'll just have some cookies.
No more cookies. No more cookies. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
We love Girl Guide cookies, thank you.
I was gonna ask, but
Oh, and do you have any cookies with you?
I don't
Thank
think,
you
I
for
think there's
your
a policy
presentation. Do you
about
have
bribing the judges. I got it. We never took it as a bribe.
And we'll never say no to cookies.
Item 6.6, we have Allison Morgan and Amanda Morgan. That's not right. Allison and Amanda.
Yeah.
Isn't it right? Home for the Hall. They're going to. Good morning. Welcome. They're going to give us a presentation this morning and as a delegation on an event that they kicked off last year in December called Home for the Holidays. And so they're here to give us an update on the 2016 plans.
Weren't you a part of that?
Can we?
I was absolutely
Oh, no.
a
Was
part
your
of
house a
that.
part
Part of that. We were a part of that. So the ladies will give us a update on what the event was last year and what they have planned for this year. It's good to see you guys at council this morning. Thank you for coming in.
Yes, thank you for having us.
And the floor is yours.
All right, I'll just wait for Amanda to give you these.
I was going to say, can we move that board up front in front of
Yeah.
you so
I'll
the
bring it up.
TV could see it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Then everyone at home can see it too.
Perfect.
Great job.
Okay, so thank you for having us here this morning. My name is Allison Morgan, and I am the owner of Interior Design Services here in town. This is my sister-in-law, Amanda Morgan, and she owns Confetti Party Planning and Decorating. Last year, we did our first annual Home for Holidays, and just to give you a little history on this and myself in the business, when I was doing my schooling for interior design in Kelowna, I was able to be a part of an event very similar to this. And so fast forward 5 years, I got the interior design business last year, and I wanted to put on this event here in Dawson Creek. And first it was just a great thing, I thought, to launch my business and Amanda's, and then it kind of turned into this we got really good feedback and turned into this really good community event that benefits more than just the two of us. So yeah, Amanda's going to just tell you a little bit how it went last year.
Thanks again for taking the time to meet with us. So last year we ran our first event. Like Allison said, it turned out to be much more successful than we thought. We personally decorated 5 local homes for Christmas, including the mayor's. We worked with 6 of our local retail establishments to use their product to display in the homes and decorate. As well as our local retailers, we also used some home-based businesses and placed them in the homes the night of the event. For an example, an up-and-coming photographer, a local woodworker, an epicure salesperson, and a lady who runs her own cake business. After the event was done, we thought it was successful. We had sold all of our printed tickets. We got great feedback, but what we didn't expect is when we went into the stores after to return their product, they had said they had new people come through their doors that they had never seen before. People were lining up that morning to purchase product that they had seen in the homes. Our photographer said she got 100% return on every photo that she took that night. The woodworker sold every single product she made for the event. So we got to thinking this year with wanting to continue it, we wanted it to continue to benefit the community. So we decided the first year we used funds towards from our ticket sales to the K-PAC Dance Extensions program. This year we partnered with the Kiwanis Performing Arts Center, and we're going to fund a bursary and scholarship program with them. So we're going to put our money towards there. But with growing this event and seeing it in the future, we are here today to ask for some help, which Allison is going to talk to you about.
So, like Amanda mentioned, last year we did the majority of it ourselves. We had some of the girls from the dance program come and help us the night of the event just to be there to greet people, etc. This year, though, we would like to have probably around 30 volunteers, adult volunteers, for the night and the day of the event. And so what we're kind of looking for from you guys today is just to branch contacts for us. You know, whoever, like, through the community, if you know of a volunteer group or whatever that would be interested in doing something like this for us. So in addition to the adults, we would also like to have high school students come and possibly help being able to use their career and personal planning hours. If they're interested in event planning and decorating, then we could use and have them help us out decorating these homes before the event. So we are, again, just looking for contacts through the school, you know, any information that we can to help us with the event.
Yeah, so that being said, other than just us needing more hands on deck this year and also looking to tap into our local youth and give them some work experience, which will benefit us as well, we're just asking for helping us grow this the popularity for the event, so just word of mouth and any contacts, any feedback. It is new for us, so we're open to any feedback or direction that you may have for us. We gave out all of you our contact information, so thank you again for taking the time to meet with us, and I can't stress enough how open we are to any feedback or direction you may have.
And any kind of details or anything more, so like the date, times, etc. of the event are all on the piece of paper that we gave to you. That's it.
So thank you. First of all, thank you for coming in this morning and giving council and the public an update on the initiative that you guys have taken on. And so I just want to give, my wife and I were involved in it last year and had our home involved in the show, 5 homes. And so as a host of it, what the benefits of seeing how it interacted, we interacted with the business community because we had items that were put in our home from the local businesses. But the evening of the event, where you have people from your community traveling around in groups of 3 or 4 or 5, engaging in a really fun evening, and you see and meet, there was probably 125, 130 people that bought tickets to go to this last year. And so to me, the side benefit that Amanda and Allison haven't talked about to me was that huge interaction that occurred on the night of a really fun event for people in our community. And the costs of paying $20 to be involved in it all goes to a local charity. I just thought was such a great initiative. And these guys, I really worked them. We saw how hard they worked in trying to put this off last year, of decorating and doing all the organizing and all of that stuff. A real kudos to building a great community event. And so I wanted to, first of all, express that on behalf of myself and council, that what a great job you did. And we really appreciate it. So Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, I missed it last year. Silly me, but all of my girlfriends, we went for brunch shortly after the new year, and that's all they could talk about was how wonderful it was and everything. And I didn't realize that you had supported the dance girls, and being the mom of a former dancer for many, many, many years, I want to thank you for also this year contributing towards the scholarships. I know they're really important to our dance students, so thanks for that.
Further questions, Councillor Rogers?
High school student council meets Mondays at 8:30. If you talk to,
Just a minute, just a minute.
you have to get on their agenda though.
Okay.
And I would just contact Paul Chisholm because they also do have a career day. I forget what day it is that they do that. It's usually at the beginning of the year.
There's a leadership class too, isn't there?
There's the leadership class, and there's lots of things that are going on. There's through their civics class as well. You could probably get some information, but I think Paul Chisholm, principal, could get you in the right direction. And if you need a cell number, I have that.
Okay, thank you. Great.
That's why they're here.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we're here.
You want to sell?
Anything further? Questions? Comments?
Don't be telling his.
As I say, to me, the benefits of us promoting our local business community and allowing them to engage and promote and show the really cool things, and in a fun way, and it really was a fun evening. And so I encourage anybody that has some ideas about it to please contact Amanda and Allison. Councillor Wilbur?
I was just gonna say, I'll give the girls my card because I think they fit within our Love Dawson Creek program, so we could probably
Yeah.
talk about that and get you on there too, so I'll
Okay.
give these.
Anything further? Ladies, thanks so much. We really appreciate you coming in this morning and giving council.
You can just call them in the school.
She's not leaving. She's
Yeah,
not
she's
leaving
like,
without
"I'm
that
busy."
number.
He's okay.
And you are a former dancer.
I'm there all
No?
the time.
No, Allison's the dancer.
Allison was the dancer.
I actually
Okay.
teach
She's
dance
a dance
at
teacher.
IK5.
Oh, very
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
Yeah, just tell him Mark gave it to you.
Ah, such a no.
Just you got it at City Council.
From
Thanks so
them.
much.
From
Good luck with the event this
Yes.
year, and
And did you bring cookies? No.
thank you.
No cookies.
6.7, we have Kate Fitch from the Ministry of Children and Family Development, Child and Youth Mental Health in Attendance regarding the local action team for child and youth mental and substance abuse in the youth engagement event. Good morning.
I'm a co-chair on that team, so in case there's an ask in there, I'm going to step out.
You
Well,
could stay for
you can
the
stay and listen for the
presentation.
delegation, I think. Can I-
Yes.
No, I can't.
No? They're shaking their head no.
No, I know the rules on that.
See ya.
I think that you would have to leave.
But
when
go
we
girl!
spoke.
Go girl!
Good morning.
Good morning. It's
Welcome.
lovely going last because then there's not so much of an audience and I don't feel so nervous.
Don't feel so nervous?
It's just us now.
Yeah, it's just you guys. Thank you very much for having me here this morning. I am a clinician at Child and Youth Mental Health, but today I am here as a co-chair of the Child and Youth Mental Health and Substance Use Local Action Team. Really big mouthful. A little bit of background about that is that just at the end of the year last year, we were fortunate enough to collaborate with ShareCare, which is the doctors of BC. You needed to have one doctor as a part of that, and we were fortunate enough to have Dr. Rika Meyer step forward so that we were able to get the funding to move forward with this. The reasons why this was something that this is throughout BC. However, in Dawson Creek, we were recognizing there was a lot of barriers for children and youth to access and receive services, and so our local action team was chosen for 4 focus areas to identify and communicate availability of local services and support. So that's one of the initiatives that we are doing. To test and incorporate processes around information sharing, to establish care processes that are experienced as family friendly and determined by youth and families to be effective in responding to their needs, and to increase the number of physicians completing the child and youth mental health and substance use module. And so some of those initiatives have moved forward, and we're in the process of doing that. You may have seen as council people that you may have seen our photo booth at some of the events, including the city cleanup that was a couple of weeks ago. We have a survey right now that's out. Part of that draw of that booth is to get families, child and youth, as well as community service members to fill out those surveys so that we can go forward with what the community is looking for. And so specifically what I'm here for is to get City Council support around a youth engagement event that we're having on July the 9th, which is the same day as the Summer Cruisers, as well as the Music in the Park, which we've gotten support by both members. We are collaborating with a lot of city individuals, including the school district has been gracious enough to allow us to use the space, the soccer field between the old Centennial swimming pool and Central Middle School. So we're going to be having a dunk tank, and we're going to be having sumo suits for the kids to participate. All of this is free to the public. And so the request that I'm having today is just to have support from City Council for this initiative that's going forward. So that would be on July 9th from 11 to 4.
Thank you, Kate. Questions? Councillor Schumann.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you for doing this. As the mother of a child who has has had issues with substance abuse and has mental health issues, it's something we really do need to talk more about in this community. And I would be interested in filling out that survey because, yeah.
I can definitely get that to you.
Definitely, I would have some comments.
Great.
Yeah.
Our coordinator is Martha Funk.
Yes, know Martha well.
We were lucky enough to be able to have that with this initiative so that it's not just, lots of time committees are fostered out of just doing it on the side of the desk of most people, and we're really fortunate to be able to have a coordinator involved with that.
Thank you.
So we'll stop by too. And
yes, please. And if anyone feels like they're going to be hot that day,
I was going to say the mayor loves to sit in the dunk tank.
We're getting kids to answer questions about mental health and substance use to get a ball to throw at the dunk tank. And so if any of the council we're actually asking teachers as well, because wouldn't it be fun to dunk your principal? So we're hoping that lots of people will come out for that and be good sports and maybe get a little wet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Further questions? Further comments? Councillor McFadden?
You mentioned that there were some barriers for youth to access services. What barriers would there be?
Well, at Child and Youth Mental Health, there is a wait list to be able to get in and see us. Depends on the community. That could be up to a month to 6 months. I know Fort St. John is really struggling with that right now. Also, location of our resources can be an issue. We are a Child and Youth Mental Health, and sometimes there's stigma around coming into that building. And just the idea that a lot of youth and children don't necessarily know that some of those services exist. So getting our word out that we are here to support the community and to support child and youth is really important.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Any further questions? So the facility, you don't need our just the support from the community as well.
At this point.
Perfect.
I might be back in a couple weeks, but at this point, just the support of the city.
Thank you so much.
It's on school district 59 property at this point. Yeah, I'm just a little nervous of what happens if it becomes wet outside. So
they got the gym.
They've got the gym, and we're hoping to secure that if that happens.
It's going to be a sunshiny weekend.
That's what I'm hoping.
Super busy downtown.
Yeah, it's going to be very busy, and we're really excited about it.
Thank you so much for coming in this morning and raising obviously this important topic to our community and to council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we have conclusion to our delegations. We'll take a 7-minute recess and be back at 10 to 10. We're through back into our reports.
Peace Country Roots, right?
Report 7.7 is report 16088 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding our UBCM meeting request with ministers.
Did we do 7.6? Sorry.
Yep.
Didn't we?
Yeah, we did that just
Yeah.
before the
Sorry,
break.
yep.
Where are we?
7.7,
I agree with you guys.
our UBCM meeting request with ministers report. Councillor Schumann?
You're better off to
So
go to Victoria.
I probably have a different idea about this than some of you, but honestly, I think that UBCM is so busy between resolution sessions and just information sessions, all the different things that we have to attend. And last year we had several meetings, our 15-minute speed dates with the different ministers and things. And honestly, I'm not sure if you feel that there was a whole lot of benefit to that. Like, it's great to get in front of them, but I felt that it really, really added a lot to the week, and that we potentially missed out on a lot of things running from here to there to everywhere, going to all these different meetings. And I think that the city of Dawson Creek, if we have a need to meet with a minister or staff, that we have the resources to do that. And I think personally that we should maybe leave those opportunities for the smaller communities like Puskupi or other small communities in the province that don't have the resources to be in, like, travel down to Victoria to meet with specific ministers when they need. And so I'm of the mind that we don't schedule a whole bunch of meetings again, but that's just my view on that.
Thank you. Councillor Javetkov and Councillor Wilbur.
I agree 100%. I think if there's a specific need, I think going to Victoria, with a focused approach is far more effective. My experience when I did go down to UBCM a couple times was, it was just a flurry of rush in there and introduce and state your case, and they're nodding, and it's ongoing. I mean, it's totally ineffective as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Councillor Wilbur?
No, I agree, and I think that with that whole, and it is like speed dating process, I think with that you end up in a pile because they get inundated, and I just think there's much more effect. For example, the meetings that you've had, Your Worship, with ministers and stuff like that, there's more time and we can better state our case. So to me it's not effective, and I agree with Councillor Schumann that we should leave that opportunity for those communities that don't have the ability to do that throughout the year.
Thank you. So and I think, to me, I think the purpose of the report in front of us was exactly that. If council do have a specific issue, request, or item that they would think would be worthwhile, that they bring it back forward through, and the purpose of the meeting and the request, and then we'll make that decision. But I'm in complete agreement. I think we've been meeting with the Minister of Health. We've had a couple of meetings, but we went down and coordinating them with a focus about, and I think they're much more effective in terms of what we're doing and what we need to do. So, Councillor Schumann?
Yeah, and many of these meetings take away from the important business of what we're there for, which is to be debating the resolutions on the floor. And many times, I sit at UBCM, I sit at NCLGA, and you just hear everybody talking about, I wasn't able to attend this or that or the other thing because we had, 20 meetings lined up and we were running all over. And some of those little communities, they really, that's the only time they ever get in front of the ministers. And so, for them, it's important, I guess, to miss the resolutions. But for me, I think that that's a really important, the business of being at UBCM. And if we're running all over, we're missing out on that important business. So.
Okay. So we'll make just a motion to receive for information then, because we're not taking any action. Moved by Councillor Schumann, seconded by Fadden. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Report 7.8, we have report 16093 from the Director of Infrastructure regarding our raw water reservoir information.
Well, Mayor, I've just I have questions about this, but just to get this on the table, I'm prepared to make the recommendation if that's where you...
Thank you.
The report 16-093 from the Director of Infrastructure, raw water reservoir information be received. Further, the Council directs staff to take all necessary steps in 2016 to move toward tender and construction for raw water storage reservoir, specifically phasing option 2, as presented by Urban Systems Limited, which is the construction of cell 1, including a 1 million meters of raw water reservoir with the Class D estimated construction costs of $6,884,000.
Seconded, Councillor Schumann. Discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, I appreciate the ideas about bringing this forward, given the competitive pricing that's been given us on other projects. So there's questions really are to staff, and I guess I'm just wanted a refreshment of my memory here. We, I think it was you, Mayor, brought forward some good ideas here about, we use the expression pinch points in our system, and you know, the fact that we needed to increase the capacity of our pumping station, as I recall, double piping, if I can use that expression, to increase flow from there as well, and dealing with the firefighting capacity in the southwest quadrant of the city. I think you've got the right quadrant there. For particularly flow, etc., and reservoir. So my question really, if I've got all that correct, is I'm making an assumption that we could move ahead with this cell 1, etc., as contained in the recommendation. But my question, where does that put the expansion to the water treatment plant in that scenario? I thought that was the top priority, and given that bids are bids and we would have maybe a very good price on that expansion, why isn't that being brought forward? Is that because of a hope for a grant of some sort? So he's a bit convoluted, Jim, but...
So through your worship, the current phasing in your 5-year plan is that this year you're constructing the additional treated reservoir for the fire flow issues you were talking about. Next year, you are upgrading the water treatment plant to increase its throughput capacity, and the year after that, you're doing phase 1 of the raw water storage. So next year's work is already subject to a grant application, and the funding for it assumes you will get that 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 funding for the upgrades to the water treatment plant. But your 1/3 was secured by reserves.
Yeah.
What we're suggesting now is the pricing for earthwork seems to be at the lowest point in 10 years. This is basically earthwork, and so we're suggesting to you moving the project from 2018 to this year, subject to getting the tender that you think you will get. And the work wouldn't go ahead unless you got the attractive pricing. However, that would put you in a process where next year, instead of funding your 1/3 from the reserve, you would be funding your 1/3 through borrowing. That would be the change.
Thank you. Councillor Rogers?
Okay. I guess I'm going to end up speaking against it. We have the plan in place for the water treatment plant. We have another plan in place for the water reservoir that'll be built. And part of the report said currently we have 100 days of off-river supply. But we also, I believe, have up to more than a year of supply of water from Bear Hole Lake and Hart and Trail reservoirs as well. So we already have a year's worth there. Industry is using less water. we have our reclaim facility, which is using, people are using more of that water. The part of the report was the mechanical and the electrical. There's costs there for the electric service and power distribution of $100,000. There's a SCADA of $60,000. There's algae control. There's blowers. There's also, I believe it was something about a power line for almost $1 million that has to get moved or added or something like that. And then there'll be ongoing maintenance, and then there's costs. So there are further costs to this, and it's, you know, the total with a 40% contingency fund is at $6.8 million, and it looks like there'll be further costs to that. So you're upwards of over $7 million, and part of this has to go through the regional district, and I can anticipate there'll be lots of feedback from the regional district, judging by their past things where they had been turning it down out in the region, and you're still got to deal with your agricultural land commission as well. I believe that the timing isn't going to be there, and we're talking about. We already discussed this in council previously about taking advantage of paving, because that's because of the cost of pavement being so low, and we chose not to do that. There was recently we were talking about markets here, so I'll just briefly talk about the markets. In the last 4 months, the Toronto Stock Exchange, which is largely commodity based, has increased by over 20%. So our markets are increasing. I'm thinking that by the time this is done, or put together and the pricing goes out, it's going to be probably up where it is right now. So I'm sort of speaking on both sides of the fences here as well. I think that we have a plan, so let's just kind of stick to what we have. I'm not in favor of borrowing any more money. Even if it'll save us money. That's like saying, oh, we can get a grant for this, so what can we apply that grant to? Because we're getting something at a cheaper price, are we going to go out and borrow a whole bunch of money just because it's cheaper right now? Mm-hmm. And we don't know if it's going to be what it's going to be like in 3 years. It might even be the same. But I'm really, I'm not in favor of borrowing any more money, and I would like to have a discussion first of all regarding our fiscal gap plans and initiatives, because we haven't even done that yet. So I would like to talk about our fiscal gap before we start borrowing even more money again, just to find out where everybody is on that.
Thank you. So I want to clarify just 1 or 2 points. The city's storage capacity right now is about 3 to 4 months. And then Bear Hole Lake, each time we manage that weir and release it, that feeds into that existing storage. So we have 3 to 4 months worth of storage with Hart, Hanson, and the Trail reservoirs. And then Bear Hole Lake feeds into the system that allows us to pump to refill those. So that's all the storage capacity that we have today. And the second point is, just for clarification, is I think the $6.6 million in anticipated costs included those other projected pieces of the project. But I'm going to give that to Jim just for clarification.
That's correct, Your Worship, and the bulk of that is earthwork.
Could I get a clarification on the amount of storage that we have? Because I've read a report through the water research that was done, and I was out of that report, that's where I got my information. The city of Dawson Creek currently has more than a year of water in storage already.
Jim?
Through Your Worship, I'll kick that over to Kevin, but again, the issue here is Bear Hole, which is not
into the system.
Necessarily storage available to us. If you look at the changes in if you look at the changes in the new Water Sustainability Act, they've made it clear that the province reserves the right to diminish our ability to take water from the Kiskatna in times of drought. So that storage won't be available to us if the ministry orders that we can't use it. So Kevin or Sean, one of you?
Absolutely. So we have about 1.3 million cubic meters backed up at Bear Hole Lake. However, off-river storage is presented in case there's an issue with extraction from the river. Currently, off-river, we have about 100 days or around 700,000 cubic meters. We have about 300,000 cubic meters at Hanson, have about 20,000 cubic meters at Hart, and we have about 400,000 cubic meters at Tripp.
And how much in the treated in town?
In the treated, we have a million gallons at Loran. We're gonna have 1 million gallons at the water treatment plant as of this year. We have 750,000 gallons at Park Hill.
Thank you. Councillor Schumann and then Councillor Javetko.
Yeah, so I'm totally in favor of this. I know that over the years we've had a lot of study and we've looked into our water supply a lot. We've had presentations from people, and the one presentation that I remember the most was there was a fellow in talking to us about our water storage and just moving forward with the changes, climate change, different things that are coming, the drier, the more increased drought periods that we have, et cetera, et cetera. Talking about, and you know, we were saying, oh, well, we've got these plans for these new big reservoirs, and you know, I remember him saying, well, you might need 2 or 3 more of those, you know, into the future. And so I think that thinking about this as, you know, thinking into the future and doing this now while we can save some money is, in my view, a really good idea. Also, there's a lot of stuff going on in our watershed. A lot of different, there's oil and gas, there's forestry, there's it's all happening out there. And so there's, I feel, a great risk to our water supply. If anything happens, I mean, we could be without water, being able to draw water, and having that storage in Bear Hole, that's a really great thing if the water isn't contaminated somewhere along the line. I mean, if that river is deemed that we can't take water out of it, then the storage we have in Bear Hole is non-existent. So then we're totally dependent on our reservoirs here in town. And I'm absolutely in favor of doing this now. And if we have to borrow some money for next year's project, then so be it.
Thank you. Councillor Javetko.
Well, I'll speak against it for some different reasons. When this plan, the current plan that we're using, was developed, it was 2001. It was before the oil and gas industry basically got fired up, which was 2003. And water security was one of the issues that was considered in the plan. And so that storage, increasing the storage, was to deal with water security. And at that time, the feeling was that the volume of water available in the Kiskatna over a foreseeable future was sufficient. I think that since the oil and gas industry came on stream in 2003, we've experienced quite a bit of evidence that over the long term, the Kiskatna is not going to be sufficient volume-wise to allow us the economic development opportunities, the growth and development that we hope to get. I mean, we're talking about economic development. We're talking about infrastructure, and water is one of the key infrastructure issues. So if we looked at that plan today with the different priorities, and volume for long-term being one, I think the plan may be different. So where we've put a priority in 2001 on adding to security, I think now we would be considering volume as well. So to invest in, you know, I guess at the last meeting when Sean brought it up about this issue, I was naive, I guess, thinking that, well, you know, this is a $20-some million project, and conceivably we could get it done for, you know, maybe a third of the cost, considering today's equipment rates. That is possible if we were to go out for bids today. You know, I don't know what they would be, but I know that there's people that are bidding, you know, 50% and less of budgeted amounts for different construction projects. But that's not the case. When I read through Urban Systems' report and you add up all of the costs, I mean, we're still looking at over $20 million for this project in the long term. I think that money, I think we would be wiser to first review the plan. The 2001 version was 15 years old. To review it now with a view to securing adequate water and security into the future, into the long term. Like I'm talking, you know, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. This money could be invested in that process as opposed to simply dealing with the security issue, you know, that's at hand. So for those reasons, I'll vote against it. I still think, you know, for us to move forward with economic development, growth, what we're anticipating, what we're hoping for, I think we need to deal with water. We've, you know, it's been an issue that's been coming up here for the last number of years, and it's I think it's will serve to prevent some economic growth here.
Thank you.
Anyways, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow.
I'd just like to hear from staff around the $20 million cost that Councillor Javetros references. Where do I find that in this urban system report? Just for information.
For all the cells.
So to me,
For all the cells.
So to me, for all, I think what Urban Systems are saying and what they have to say is, based on our best engineered estimates of the work that needs to be done for the cells, along with the associated work, you're probably looking at $20 million. But what we don't know is when you put it out to tender, and we're seeing that today with some of the tenders that we've let. We just did one today for the demolition of buildings that we had anticipated were going to be $1.5 million and come in at $700,000. And 3 or 4 of our sewer projects and water projects have come in a third or under what we had anticipated them being on that engineered estimate. And so, to me, I think the how long is a piece of string question we have is we know what the urban systems believe it to be, but until you test it in the marketplace and you get those bids from the industry on how much that dirt work, how much that construction is going to be, we don't know. And I think, to me, the way I read the report, and that's what is being recommended by administration, is we estimate that based on urban systems, the engineers' estimates that it's going to be a $6.6 million project. And when we put it to tender, we'll get the number. And to me, that's the decision day for me that would swing me in terms of saying, if we're going to save $2 or $3 million, that's like getting the money for free and borrowing money in the future for nothing, because you're saving that significant amount on that capital project. And that would be the day that would swing me in terms of saying, yeah, now I agree. I think this is a great time to move forward with one phase of it to add to that long-term supply issue for our community, or the financial delta, the difference between what the engineers say and what we actually spend, is significant enough that it causes me to say, yeah, I think it's a good deal. Councillor Rogers and Councillor Javetko.
If we're gonna save a third, then why don't we do the whole thing? Then it would be for the price of the first cell.
Because we have all the money in reserves today
Yeah.
at 6.6.
But then what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna take our money from our reserves that is already earmarked for our upgrading the water treatment facility and a treated water storage facility. So we're gonna put that money into building off-river storage. If we waited, don't you think we'd be able to get grants for this proposal? I say stick with what we got. That's our plan. That's what we were doing. Stick with that plan, and then, we could get the pricing on this, but I'm not in favor of starting this with borrowing money. I'd rather see us get some grant money for it, or get an application in for grant money.
You might save enough money on this that you've got the 1.5 or 2 million in reserves alone, and you get the one third for the treatment plant to be able to move forward without having to borrow. I guess that to me is we don't know that delta. We don't know how much we're going to save out of the reserves, and that's the swing point to me. Councillor Javetkov?
That 20 million is the total cost of the whole project.
That's right.
In the long term. I mean, we're only dealing with a third of it here
That's
today. And if we were to go out for bid today for the whole project, and we were successful in getting a bid of 50% or less, it's a whole different story. But that's not what we're talking about. We're
That's
talking
right.
about doing some planning this year with a view to going out for bids next year. Next year, we don't know what the rates are going to be, and I anticipate they are going to be higher because these slowdowns don't last forever. But I wanted to make one point here that I missed before with regard to volume, and this was something new to me. The letter from Urban Systems under the subject blending of reclaimed water and raw water. So that means taking the water from the treatment plant over here and blending it in with our raw water and then treating it and then getting it delivered as potable water. That was, I don't know where that came from, but that to me demonstrates some concern about volume of water, our volume for the long term. Now, this letter, the tone of it reflects my feelings, and I'm looking for gentle words to say that that it's, to me, it's repulsive, taking our sewer water and running it through and then drinking it. I mean, if we were in a state where we didn't have 3 major quality rivers in fairly close proximity, like if we're in the Sahara Desert or where we were forced into that. But I mean, to put our residents in a situation where we have to recycle our sewer water to drink, it's, maybe I'm old-fashioned, maybe I'm a dinosaur, I don't know, but to me, it is just not in the cards.
And that's not part of the conversation here.
Well, it is, the letter is there.
I think
Not, go ahead.
I think maybe that letter is there due to Councillor Parslow's
Progressive comments.
his progressive comments
As
at
opposed
the
to my
last meeting.
dinosaur over there.
Yes, dinosaur. But I would like to ask Councillor Javetkov, because in his first little speech he made, it sounds like you're still advocating for the $100 million pipeline instead of going to storage. I mean, I was just reading that in there. I don't know if that's what you're still thinking, that we need to still look at pipelines.
The $100 million is
Yeah,
your number.
yeah, it's true.
So,
it's my
through to the mayor, please.
Oh, through to the mayor. Yes,
Yeah,
through to the
thank
mayor.
you.
So I'm just curious if that's what he was alluding to in his first little speech, if that's.
Thank you. Councillor Javetkov.
I have never alluded, ever,
You didn't say
to
it.
Councillor
to
Schumann.
$100 million pipeline. But what I'm alluding to is that we've got a water issue, a volume issue, long-term, and I think we need to look at an alternate source, which, by the way, would cover off security as well as adequate supply, because If you had an alternate water source, then we've got two systems, a backup system, similar to what BC Hydro uses. When they bring a power line in, they've usually got a loop line, so if there's a problem with one, they've got another.
Thank you.
Anyways, I'm not going to belabor it.
That's not a part of this conversation or discussion or the future. I appreciate the question. So just for clarification, the recommendation that's on the what we're discussing here is that we will take the necessary steps in 2016 to move towards a tender. And so that's staff aren't saying they're going to bring this, doing the necessary work this year to get it into tender next year. We want to get it to tender this year in order to understand what that number is from what we anticipate the engineers estimate at 6.6 to what we anticipate seeing in our recent history of tenders of what that number is. And am I correct in that to administration?
Through your worship, the recommendation is to attempt to get to tender for a fall construction. The thing that would make that non-viable is if the regional district didn't see their way clear to rezone the property.
Yeah. And we're not moving ahead with the project, we're moving ahead with the tender for the project to get the pricing.
Right.
Council always has that final approval on the awarding of the tender. Councillor Parsel?
Yes, I'm still in support of the recommendation, not saying that what I've heard here isn't some of it resonating with me, and I'm going to talk to Councillor Javetkov about his private life, about pathogens and the sources of pathogens and so on. It might be informative. But so the question is, in our plan right now, notwithstanding what you've said, which has captured my vote, is that in our plan, ultimately, we would have to borrow some money, as I see it. You know, as staff outlined, year one, what we're doing now, year two, year three. We're going to explore what the options are, what tender prices we get, so I'm going to stay with the recommendation and vote for it.
The future of our water treatment plant that was part of the 2017 as part of our plan to build that pinch point will, if we spend the reserves or a portion of the reserves, depending on the number for this, will leave us the difference on what we have within reserves and how much that tender project then is for the water treatment plant in the future would determine the amount of what we would need to borrow. And I think that's Council's consideration today. If we escalate, in my view, this storage solution or a storage option ahead of when it normally would have been in our planning cycle, use the reserves that we have in our utility, then next year when we're doing and make the consideration for the water treatment plant, the amount left out of our reserve, should we move forward with this, would then determine the amount of the borrowing required for that project. Councillor Rogers?
Last kick at it here.
Yeah.
So there were 5 other considerations. I don't know if it was all part of the urban systems report. I don't know if everybody read that or not, or I assume everybody did. I just want to make sure that those other 5 items will be looked at by staff, and then also with, I would like to find out an exact clarification on where the money's coming from. Because I don't know at this point, I don't know where the money's coming from.
Reserves.
Reserves.
Like if it goes ahead, like we get a report back, it goes out, we get a number back, I would like to be able to know exactly where the money's coming from.
Yeah, it's coming from our water utility reserves. We have that money in reserves.
And then how much we're going to be borrowing.
Not you.
If we end up borrowing.
There's over 7 million, I think, in reserves. Shelley to Jim.
That's correct. Yeah, there's about 7 million in reserves in the water utility. 5 million of it was earmarked for our portion of the water treatment plant upgrades on the assumption that 2/3 would come from senior levels of government.
So if this project was 6.6, if it came in at 6.6, we have the money in reserves to do it. And I think that's the question. How much does it cost? And then, does council want to commit to moving forward with it, using the reserves, knowing next year if we have the water treatment plant, and we're then going to be borrowing money for that? To me, the question is, are we saving enough in building the capacity in this one to make it worth our while to borrow even at the future? Because if we save enough, it's almost like borrowing that money for free, or even getting additional grant money, because if you're saving 2 or 3 million, right, potentially. So it's all in reserves for this account.
Okay, and there is the opportunity of more grants and stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Further questions? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's recorded. Councillor Javetkov, Councillor Rogers, you didn't vote?
No, I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Great discussion. Bylaws. Nothing?
Nothing, Your Worship?
Wow.
Next, item 9, Mayor's business. Item 9.1, and I'm going to start to do this a little bit different, just put them under a cycle of, for your guys' benefit, so that I try to have some sequence to what I'm doing. So the first item I want to talk about is succession planning. And so today, in the history of organizations, you really, on our board and our council, do some significant stuff, and you deal with some significant stuff. And strategic planning is about the direction that this board undertakes in planning the future of the community, the organization. We took fiscal gap, we took infrastructure, we took economic development, and we took capacity building. And a part of that is about the succession of planning for the future of our community. And this board, in its structure as a policy, a governance board, have one employee that reports to the board, and that's Jim Shute. Jim's been the CAO of the City of Dawson Creek just before the signing of the Legion Charter 80 years ago. And Jim's been the CAO for I don't know how many years, an employee of the city for 36 years. And so it's with some whole bunch of different feelings today on behalf of council that we announced that Mr. Shute has reached the decision date in his life cycle with his family, personal and business, that he'll be transitioning to the life of retirement. That discussion has been ongoing now for a bit of time, obviously with council and the mayor, with Jim, in terms of that timing. And it's an important question for organizations, because people leave organizations in one of two ways. And normally senior folks, the coach of the NHL team, usually gets hired to be fired. And so it's a huge credit, I think, to our community, to our council, and to Jim, in terms of saying we value, we appreciate, and certainly recognize the contribution that he's given to our community, this city, and to our region. And so we've reached that point in time where Jim's made the decision that he will be moving to the next phase. Retirement does not suck. So
you say.
So I say. Unless.
That's me how it's working out.
And so the council and Jim have had that conversation and discussion, and it's not today or tomorrow that Jim's leaving, but we have reached the agreement that and Jim's final day with the City of Dawson Creek will be December 31st, 2017, so we've got a year and a half in which we can do the succession planning. It's, I said last year that Peace River Agreement, that fair share agreement, is probably the most important bit of work this council would be involved in, and now thinking about that, it was significant, and it is significant to our community, but probably the Chief Administrative Officer for a community is a very, very significant role that plays to the future of what and how your city evolves and where it goes. And so today I have the duty of announcing that Jim's made the decision that retirement is in his and his family's future. And So we really, obviously today is about recognizing that accomplishment, that contribution. How pleased I am to be able to be in the position of being able to do this in a way that works for all of us, because that's the best day. That's the best day when you are able to give somebody the credit and allow them to end their career on a very, very positive way, and appreciate the contribution that he's made to our community and our organization over the last 36 years. So I don't know if you want to say anything following that.
Well, I appreciate council sort of allowing me to depart on my own terms, which, as you say, is not necessarily the way councils do these things. And it's the greatest job in the world, as anyone who's had it could tell you.
Well, as I say, today is about us and our role and moving forward, and we will now, council will begin that role of structure in terms of what we do and how we move forward, and in terms of the succession for the new CAO. But today is about recognizing Jim and his accomplishments and contributions to our city, and I sincerely appreciate that, having somebody who was here 20 years ago or whatever, and today as well, and appreciate how much time that means in a person's life, and they've given their life to our community. So thank you. Thank you for that. Anybody else have any comments? Councillor Javetka?
I just have to compliment Jim, you know, for I guess this process that really is favorable to the city as well. I mean, it's, you know, there's all kinds of different scenarios that could have transpired, and I think this one is, you know, a benefit to the city. So I think that's important.
Yeah. Again, the credit to all of us thinking about our community first, and how we see the importance of moving it forward, and that's an appropriate comment. Thank you. Thank you. Item 2. While I was away at FCM, we were asked to attend a award ceremony in Prince George, and so Councillor Rogers graciously agreed to attend on my behalf, and so I want to turn it over to Councillor Rogers to give an update on that award ceremony and what it involved.
Thank you, Your Worship. When I was asked to go, I thought, hey, this is right up my alley. I've been involved in construction for over 30 years. I got to go look at some buildings, and I thank Mayor, Council, and the citizens of Dawson Creek for allowing me to do that. So anyways, there's part of what I had said when I accepted these awards was, with every building, there's controversy. It doesn't matter what building was ever built, where it was built, there was always controversy. And for me, there's no controversy. I go into that facility and I see the kids that are
You
playing.
need to hold
in
up,
that building.
tell them what we're talking about.
They don't know what you're. I think everybody knows what we're talking about. We're winners.
Public don't.
Yeah. Oh, the public don't. Okay. So I went down, and we got it's from the Northern BC Commercial Building Awards, and it was Award of Excellence. So the Award of Excellence, which is awesome, got even better though, because then they had the best overall entry. So out of all of the buildings that were entered, the Calvin Crook building was awarded Judge's Choice Award. So I think that's an awesome, awesome thing. And like I was saying, when you go into this facility and you see the activity that's going on in that facility and all the groups in the community that are in there, what really gets to me is when you go outside and you see all those little kids that are in daycare playing outside.
Thank you so much for attending, and obviously we're so pleased to see the recognition that the facility has received in that regard. And again, I appreciate you attending on my behalf, and we'll proudly display those plaques at City Hall. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me go.
Appreciate it. 9.2, we have a letter of request, a request for a letter of support for the Sunset Clause extension from Northern Gateway from Enbridge. And what this is Northern Gateway have been obviously going through their consultation process on their project for a few years now, and they continue to do that. There's a sunset clause involved in that that says they either have to start construction or extend that consultation period. And that's what they've asked us, if we would be prepared to give them a letter of support, that they want to get that extension of that sunset clause in agreement and move it forward. And so I was at a session about 3 weeks ago, did a presentation to the Northern Gateway Community Advisory Group. They really have engaged communities from Northeast BC to the interior to the West Coast in trying to engage and inform people on this project and the implications of this project. So this isn't about we're saying we're in favor or opposed or whatever. We're saying we like the idea that you're engaging our communities and continue to do so in a way that allows us to reach a point where people have the full information and the transparency of information required to make an informed decision. So, Councillor Javetkov?
I'll move that we support their request.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Wilbur. Discussion. Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you for that. And as well now, Enbridge, as an important community member in Dawson Creek, having just purchased the Murphy facilities and the upstream processing, and I believe are making their way in to do a presentation to council very shortly, and are going to be a very significant and important component of our community for a long, long time. I was going to talk about FCM, but Councillor Parslow did a great job of updating and covered off a bunch of the stuff, so I'm not going to do that. I just want to talk about 3 or 4 things that I didn't put on my agenda, my update, but I want to talk about this past weekend because 1 or 2 of them were really significant. And Relay for Life, obviously, Saturday morning was a really important event in our community that goes on. And so I attended there and got to proudly wear the yellow sweater and do that survivor's lap with those folks in our community who have survived and are survivors of cancer. And so it's just a great opportunity to celebrate and help promote and bring awareness and raise some money for the Canadian Cancer Society. I attended the Rotary clubs on Friday night, both the Sunrise and the Noon Club. Noon Club celebrating 65 years in operation in our community, and Sunrise Club of 15 years. And they did a really good overview of the Rotary clubs in our community, and it gives you time to reflect a little bit on the amazing citizens, the amazing people. Rotaries as organizations are about, like any organization, are about people. And you start talking about the people in our community who have been members of the Rotary Club and the amazing work they've done. And, you know, they talked the other night about there was a couple projects in our early days, Rotary Harbor and Rotary Manor, in the early days of, there was 4 or 5 of our Rotary members signed personal letters of guarantee for facilities and building our community. And think about the commitment, I think, about the citizens of our community and our history that have stepped up to build our community. And so I was really pleased to be able to be there on behalf of council and thank them for obviously the work they've done and continue to do in our community. Saturday afternoon, I got asked to attend, there was a visiting internist. Obviously, we've lost our internist to the island, and so there's a visiting internist in town looking at Dawson Creek and Fort St. John as a new home for her practice. And so I spent 3 hours showcasing, as I so proudly do, 2014 Cities Journal said this is the #1 city in Canada. So the choice is easy. Anyway, it was a great opportunity to showcase the community, and had a great lunch with her and the folks and the physicians, and I see now how important that is for us to be involved, and why I really now really validates the whole bunch of the work of the health committee and why it's important for us to be involved in that. Yesterday morning I attended the 118th celebration of the Independence Day for the Filipino community. The Philippines and the Filipino community had a great celebration, really, really good family, community people, and we had a ton of fun. They had a feast, and I had my 10-year-old granddaughter there with me. She's such a softy little thing. I'm going to tell this side story really quickly. And so they had a feast, and Sam's Kitchen did 2 roast pigs for the feast.
Aw.
So I took little granddaughter Ireland down to see, well, apparently I pushed her over the edge. Not sure where she thought bacon came from. Anyway, it was a fun couple of hours, and we really enjoyed being able to participate and celebrate with really great people in our community. And then it was mentioned 353 Air Cadet Squadron had their award ceremony last night, and I attended and did a presentation on behalf of the city, and thank another really good organization building terrific young citizens and people in our community, and credit to Captain Kimberly Shipton and Lawrence Stromquist, who are doing really great work in there to build an organization for the kids. I want to deal with the request from the Girl Guides, who had a request to use the NER park, or the park, sorry. Everybody wants to. Councillor McFadden, seconded. Councillor Wilbur, discussion? All those in favor? Sorry.
Oh, I
Opposed?
just want through you to staff, Jim, is there any concerns or issues that?
Through your worship, there's no, so far as we know, there are no ball games scheduled. None have been scheduled to this point, and we will now inform the groups that that this use is happening next door.
Good.
Perfect.
Councillor Schum?
Is there a porta potty down there?
There is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect, that was it.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We also had the letter of, or the request in regards to the youth at risk, and Kim was in, and so I don't know that we need to do anything formal in that regard. There was no need for a formal, or do you want a formal request, or a formal motion of support to it? Councillor Rogers?
I'll move that.
Thank you. Second to Councillor McFadden. Discussion, and I guess we'll just send them a letter that this council formally endorses the work that are going on and encourage that youth at risk movement. Jim?
Support him.
So one of the things that occurs to Duncan and I is, it appears that that's going to be a busy day. There's going to be the music fest, there's going to be summer cruise, there's going to be the youth at risk, or the local action committee activity. And there's a big old swimming pool that's going to be being demolished.
Ew.
So what we're going to do is in our first meeting with the contractor, now that you've awarded, we're just going to tell them that that's a down tool day. I don't think it'd be a good idea for any of those events if the demolition and the trucking was going on that day.
Yeah. Thank you. Good idea. Good point. We have the Legion request from from Barry Day. So, Councillor Rogers?
Your Worship, what the Legion is asking for there, in my opinion, that's essentially a grant. And we have policy around grants, and there should be an application and everything like that. And I think that that's something that this should apply to if we're considering giving them the money. But we've given them alternative places to go. I don't know what more we can do other than send it through the grant process.
Thank you. Jim?
Through your worship, they wouldn't qualify for a grant because your grant process, or your grant policy says you won't fund ongoing operational expense. So they would be disqualified from the grant process. It's not a sponsorship. The only place it would fit in your current policies is fee for service, and that's because you don't actually have a policy for fee for service yet. Anything goes on fee for service.
Councillor Wilbur?
On one hand, I agree with Councillor Rogers, but what keeps running through my head is the accessibility issue. And I know, we just had David Johnson in here talking, and we, prided ourselves on being accessible to our community, and that takes on many different aspects. And I'm sure staff has looked, but do we have any other possible space that's accessible for them?
So through your worship, we have, with Day, looked at any building that we own or lease. Obviously we had attempted the solution of the old O'Brien, but the school district, the pricing they put on that makes this look like a very attractive option. So no, we don't have any space that meets those tests. And
72.
And they have been nomads since they sold their original building. In the co-op for a while, in the curling rink for a while, now with us. And you can tell from the delegation that their numbers are dwindling and their energy is dwindling, and they're clearly at loose ends.
Yeah, lack of home probably exacerbates the issue of people joining. And certainly from my perspective, we stepped up in terms of trying to assist the Legion when they were homeless for a while, and found the old library building was a really great option, a great alternative. And on the other side of it, today we've looked at every option that we have within the city to be able to do that. And we don't provide support, we don't provide funding to the Kiwanis Club or the Kinsman Club or the Lions or any of the others, and I think it's an awful position for them to be in, but at the same time I think it's equally difficult for us to start funding the operational requirements. And where do we say, okay, we're going to fund you, but we're not going to fund the Kinsman Club or the Kiwanis Club or the Lions Club or the Elks Club or whoever, that these volunteer organizations, these organizations that have given so much, but there's the other side of it financially for us that I think is a difficult road. So, Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, the question is difficult because I remember, I think that the overall sentiment of council when we found a place for them in the former regional library was strongly influenced by the acknowledgement of the appreciation we have for the veterans of the country. And I think it was through that filter that we did what we did. My understanding is that the current membership in the Legion is around 10, and that my understanding of veteran is somewhat different from as described by the presenter, that I always thought a veteran was somebody who had actually served overseas in either peacekeeping roles or serving Canada in war. I have learnt that some people in the Legion are in the Legion as a result of having a family member in such a capacity. So I thought that we'd said, because of our acknowledgement of the service provided to Canada and to ourselves by veterans, that we did what we did. We had a facility and so on. I know that staff's worked very hard at trying to find suitable accommodation. We do know that the big stumbling block is accessibility. So I keep, questioning if we do this for one, how will you say no to all the other wonderful service associations we have in this community? So I have no solutions. All I can affirm is that a lot of people have worked hard at trying to solve this, and it is a difficult situation.
Thank you. Councillor Javetkov and Councillor Wilbur?
To me, this falls under one of those things that requires community support. And, you talk about quality of life, and this organization deserves a lot of respect from everybody that's here, in Canada. And it's the application for a grant is no different than a lot of other applications that come in, and letters, requests, and fees for service and stuff like that. But it really falls back on the community to support something like this, and I believe the community is there. I think what they need is maybe some assistance in that process, but it has to come from the community. Like the city, with grants, like, where does it end? I mean, and it was mentioned here a number of times, It's not the funding source for that type of thing, in my opinion, so.
Thank you. Councillor Wilbur?
Something that just actually came to mind, a project that I've been working with for a while, and it's called Reese Across Canada. And they get funding through Veteran Affairs, so I'm wondering if maybe we couldn't have our grant writers source out through Veteran Affairs if there is funding available for them for this. I think there might be something through that project, and I would be happy to get Caitlin in touch with them, but I think there might be something there that they could access.
Okay. Thank you. Any thoughts on that, Brenda or Jim?
I don't know about that specific program, and I also don't know anything about the current financial situation of the Legion.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things you require in a grant application, and I believe you will soon require in a fee-for-service application, is access to the financials to see what the need is. I don't know how long they could carry this. I just know that the demolition is coming up onto the horizon very quickly, and that they need someplace to go at the end of this month, basically.
Councillor Schumann and Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, when the delegation was here, Shaylee was talking about the 2 spaces at the Kin. And you think there's 10 members, Charlie?
That's, staff can comment better than I on that.
Yeah, my understanding is that their numbers have fluctuated from, say, 25 to 10 over the last few years.
I mean, for them to have a meeting, I mean, they could have a meeting anywhere. I don't know that that's the biggest problem for them. I mean, they can go like we do. We go sit down and have coffee at the Tim Hortons and have a meeting or whatever, especially if the numbers are so slow. So if it's just storage and then office space for their equipment, like I'm sure that if it is that we're not going to give them $7,200 a year until whenever, I'm sure they might look at those spaces maybe a little differently.
I think it's honestly, I think it's about building the organization as well and the membership, and it's hard to do that without having that place where you can bring your members in, and I think that's a part of it as well. I think that part of what they've struggled with. Jim?
So in the course of all of this, of course, Duncan and I have reviewed their current space, and I have to tell you that they're using that current space. So there is more than the 400 square feet in the current space that's going to be demolished, and they have, you heard Day saying that they've been downsizing every time they move, but they are still, there's a great deal of memorabilia that has nothing to do with Poppy, but has to do with their branch. Everything from portraits to uniforms to I very seriously doubt if they're holding many meetings in the current space, because I don't know where you'd sit.
Yeah.
It's they would need to downsize again to go into the office space at the memorial.
Yeah. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, well, just a comment about that. I mean, when I learned that a lot of the storage space they use is for the storage of memorabilia, I was wondering, immediately went to my mind to the Historical Society, because should some of that be displayed in our museum, or you could throw into that, as don't mind me saying this to you, the Pioneer Village should have a display. I mean, Legion's been here 84 years. What a good way of displaying it. But so those things need to be worked at, right? The problem is that the building's to be demolished, and they need to find a place. And given, as staff's just reminded us, our fee-for-service policy is evolving. Is that an appropriate word? Is being developed, or is there being reflected upon? What's the word?
What council meeting do we intend to bring it to? Sean?
Well, through your worship, in the diary is it by the end of June. So that's the next priority.
So we would hopefully have it at your next meeting.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a suggestion, if I can, so that we help find a solution for our friends at the Legion. and they are in desperate need of finding a solution immediately. And so I would like to ask if council would be willing to consider that. I made a great speech about the Rotary, right? Stepping up in our community, citizens. And so I would like to ask council if you would be willing to agree to us committing to the 1 year for the Legion, the 7,200. I will personally raise that money, or I will pay it at the end of the year. And that way we'll end up getting a structure in place for them to hopefully find a way to guarantee their future. But at least it gives them 1 year then in which to get themselves settled, established, and we find a way to help them find the funding solution. And honestly, I'd be willing to commit to that so that council doesn't have to, in a way, get ourselves into a loop with our grants or fee for service. But if we do that, then I'll raise the money or I'll pay at the end of the year. Councillor Wilbur?
I'll agree with you. I was just going to say, if you're willing to that, then I also will work with Caitlin and talk to Reese across Canada and see if we can get them some future funding.
We'll find a way to get them onto a way to get that fundraising mechanism in place so that I raised $1,500 for the SPCA. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I can't do that for the vets. And so I think it's an important message, and so why not, right? Why wouldn't we? Councillor Dweck?
I just had an idea. You know, this dunk tank, but we could have a different version of it. We could have a paintball tank.
Ow. Ouch.
But we step up and we step up and support our community.
This is an idea for the mayor.
Or like somebody could have a golf tournament. Or
there's lots of ways, and I think there's that. And like I said, I'm looking at this thing saying, you can raise, this community steps up, and so I'd be happy to do that. But I just think if council are willing to do that, will give us a year to get a structure in place for the Legion, and now they know they can go enter into that 1 year lease, and hopefully we find a way in that time frame to get them stabilized. Councillor Dweck, then Parsons.
So what are you talking about? You're talking about the city paying it right now, and then you're going to pay the city back?
I'll either raise the money or I'll pay it back. Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Parsons?
Well, I appreciate what you've just suggested. I was thinking that we needed to find a solution immediately. That whatever we do be for a year. I can certainly work with the Historical Society, Pioneer Village, see if we can reduce the amount of space they need, you know what I mean, for storage and appropriate display. The only part of what you said I'm not comfortable with is you personally raising money, yes, engagement, but not your personal liability.
But I'm good. I'm okay with it. Honestly, because I think council has to have that assurance that, hold it, if I don't raise the money, that council can't be on the hook with it to jeopardize their policies of grant or fee for service of that stuff, right?
So move.
Thank you. Seconded? Councillor McFadden, discussion? So administration, is there any?
Oh, boy. Well,
there's a whole bunch of stuff going on.
It's unwise for individual councillors to take on financial commitments for city works, but if you're wishing to do that, it's unwise for administration to try to stop you.
Councillor
He's in your current status, Jim.
Shelley has something.
There is a system. If you donate money to the city, it's a charitable donation. So, but I don't know if you donate $7,200 if you can ask that is used for the rent for the Legion. There's got to be an angle there, and a guy with 36 years experience, you would think would be able to find it.
And the CFO giving you that old Okay, so we'll.
Did you have something, Shep?
I did, if the worship wants to acknowledge it. I'd prefer you didn't do it. Just because then you can get into conflict of in the future. But you have the grants policy, and council can waive policy. There's a $50,000 grants budget, so if council's will is to cover this for 1 year, that's probably more appropriate.
Councillor Schumann and then Councillor Jabecka.
So I totally like that better, that we waive policy for this one thing for this 1 year, and then you still need to figure out a way to help them to raise them. If this is the commitment and you want to do this, I think we could probably give them a grant for 1 year, waive our policy, et cetera, et cetera. I know Rogers isn't going to like that very much, but I think that, yeah. I didn't even hardly look at him.
I felt it.
So honestly, for me personally, I think it's the grant. We have policy, and that's what we do. And so I think
It's not like
policy
we haven't
has
waived a policy before.
Councillor Wilbur and then Councillor Jabecka.
Well, no, I liked what Shelley's suggestion was actually, and the only other thing I wanted to add through you to Councillor Parslow is that they look at all space available to display their artifacts and the stuff that they have where it'd be most visible to the community. So I think they need way less storage if those portraits and memorabilia were actually out there in the communities. That's all.
Councillor Jabecka.
In the past, we've loaned money to the soccer club, and we've loaned money to the library board. Could the city not loan money to the Legion?
Well, and that's kind of what I'm thinking about in terms of my mind is I'll just step up to make the commitment to repay it so they don't have to, if we don't raise the money. So it's easy to me in terms of thinking about it in that way, right?
So the loan wouldn't be a grant or a fee for service, it's a loan.
Yeah.
So is that not workable, or?
That's the essence of the motion you have on the floor right now. It's just really, it's the mayor you're loaning it to. He's the one who's taken on the commitment to repay.
I'll raise the money. But I'll find a way to help. We'll get a structure in place so that they have $7,200 every year coming in to look after it for them, right?
Until
Good.
somebody raises their lease,
Yeah.
and then they need.
Question?
It's not very
I just got a comment.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
My bride figures there must be money. I've still got checks.
Yeah, well. I just think that we've offered them space, and apparently what we're offering is not good enough. I can understand why it's not good enough. But if you're willing to do that, I'll support with whatever you want.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Councillor Parslow?
So inherent in this is that the shack, state shack, they're still going to be using that. Is
For
that
storage.
correct? So
Yes, for the poppy.
for storage. Okay.
So we're giving them the space and.
So then we have to let Mr.
So
Ma
we're
know
giving
that he's
them
not-
the
No,
state
you've already
shack
done that.
We already did that?
Yeah.
You had all,
for storage.
previously council had decided to put that out to RFP so that the existing tenant was exited. Then prior to going to RFP, you decided to reserve it for the Legion's use when you were aware of the demolition. So no one is, some may feel disenfranchised, but no one actually is.
So are they actually gonna need the skate shack?
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
they
other
needed
one?
the
They need
storage,
both?
I think,
I think
for poppies and that.
You heard that,
Yeah.
I mean, they gave the dimensions of what they're looking at least. It would seem to be about 250, 240 square feet. So.
420
No,
square
Is it
feet
400?
to 450 square
yeah.
feet
Okay.
is what they
Okay.
got. And
Still
then
small.
including
Thank you.
all their triple nets.
Thank you for that. Councillor Javetkoff, you had a motion you wanted to bring forward.
Well, I guess before I make a motion, is it automatic when that, the extension to the runway is on the 5-year plan? Does administration automatically start applying for grants, or do we need a motion to ask administration to start applying for grants for that project? Hopefully, you know, we get the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or whatever. There's other grant available as well.
Sure. It's part of the capital planning process for next year, I would assume. But Jim, do you want to go?
So the normal process is when something shows, that is on the 5-year, shows up in the current year, in the next year. So in 2016, you're talking already about funding sources and grant applications for 2017. So the normal thing that would happen on the piece of the airport expenditure that is the runway extension is the year before it hit the annual capital plan, staff would be exploring grants, etc. In the case of that particular project, our estimates are stale dated, so a step ahead of that would be getting updated estimates. So that would be the normal process, is that we would, the year before it was going to be on the annual plan, we would be getting updated estimates and exploring grants. That's what we normally do for everything.
I guess what bothers me is that there may not be grants available. Right now, there's grants available through the province. There's, Todd Stone has set aside $8 million for this type of project, and I'd like to see us apply for that, you know, in anticipation that it may not be available 3 years from now.
Okay. And so we would need to, I would assume through the administration, do the necessary engineering and all of that stuff, or is that all done? And we would just, but we would have to escalate it through our financial plan for this year, for our, not our plan, our capital budget then, in order to apply for it, would we?
If that was your wish. Now, in fairness to Councillor Rogers, who has a motion asking for more information before you do anything like this, you might want to consider those two motions at the same time,
Yeah.
either both today or both on the 27th.
Right.
In terms of the status of the engineering, as I'm saying, we have a sort of a Class D estimate that's stale dated. We would need more current information reflecting, you know, the pricing realities of today for that. But it's not a complicated project. It is pavement. It's you know, X square feet of pavement.
Thank you.
I have no problem with putting it off for 2 weeks to the next meeting. Is it possible to get an estimate for the paving?
I think so. Yeah, we'll get Devon Arrow to do up an estimate based on our own paving pricing for this year.
Okay, so we'll do that. We'll bring that forward, and then you can be prepared for next meeting.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. So that's it for me under Mayor's business. Councillor Rogers.
Just one comment. At our next meeting, I will be bringing forward some information regarding grants. I haven't got that. I haven't received that yet. But there might be something that, through your worship, that Councillor Jvetkoff might want to be looking at, is that the ACAP funding. I believe it takes about 2 years to get that funding in place before you actually receive it. And you cannot actually have it in your, you can't be applying, I think, for the ACAP funding unless, because if you got shovels in the ground, or even if it's part of your plan. So I don't know, maybe staff could come back with some more information.
Administration will be able to bring that back.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
There was some sticky rules around getting ACAP funding.
the proposed 5-year capital plan shows us obtaining the bulk of the funding for that project through the ACAP program. But if there's another program available where the money might be more easily accessed, we'll certainly look into that. I do note that the provincial government has an election next spring. The federal government doesn't have one for 4 more years. So
We'll bring it back for the next meeting for you and get some estimates, and hopefully we'll have some additional information on those funding grants. Thank you. Item 10, diary.
nothing new on the diary, Your Worship.
Consent calendar. Strategic priorities. Move McFadden, seconded Councillor Jvetkoff. All in favor? Strategic priorities.
Nothing new on the strat chart, Your Worship.
We're working hard on trying to find a date for that next meeting of fiscal gap, and it's just summertime, and I really want to make sure that we have everybody here for it. And so we'll just, I don't know if we're going to find a date in July or August is the downside of it, but we've been, obviously Kelsey's been working away trying to find that date, and we'll get it on the plate for when everybody's here. So, Jim?
So I thought we had a date.
Yeah.
You got it? September 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to send you all a video over an initiative going on in Prince Rupert called Rebuild Rupert. And just when and if you watch it, turn your mind to what they're clearly doing, which is staging information to their public to help the public understand why they're going to be needing to do what they're going to be needing to do. But beyond that, it's just a fascinating story about Prince Rupert's water supply, and kind of makes our issues look manageable in comparison. So I'll flip it all to you.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, when we're at FCM and you hear these conversations going on of people building infrastructure and huge money in terms of capital projects, core, sewer, water, like crazy stuff, right? Big numbers in small communities. So anyway, yeah, it's really gives you kind of thinking. Question and answer period.
No one has signed up.
Media.
Got a few. I'm going to make you all talk about Jim in front of them. But
All right.
First, infrastructure. On the 100-day water supply, the raw water supply there, that number of days was thrown around a lot. And I'm just wondering, is that low relative to other cities? And what other cities of this size tend to have a longer sort of backup water supply? Just wondering if there's any basis for comparison that staff have.
Through your worship, as Councillor Javakov pointed out, this has been looked at quite a few times. So that issue of storage comes up every time we have the matter examined. The issue of storage comes up separate from the issue of source and redundancy, whether that is, as Councillor Javakov is talking about, 2 lines from 2 sources, or whether it's off river storage. Redundancy is a very desirable thing in a water system, but because of expense, it's also a rare thing in a water system. We are not necessarily any different than most of our neighbors. In fact, we have more storage than many of our neighbors on a per capita basis. But we also have a great deal of drought vulnerability, as we have seen in the past. So the higher your drought exposure, the higher your contamination exposure, the more desirable it is for you to have that redundancy in storage.
And today, Council approved looking at options for funding phase 1 of this program, or this project. Have I got that right?
So if you looked at the entire, so there's a quarter section of land the city owns out on the Old Hart Highway, and the plan would be to develop it into an entire reservoir system that would give you in excess of a year's worth of storage. So there's 3 cells planned. This is one cell of that, which would add approximately 100 days worth of additional storage.
Million cubes.
Yeah, million
So
cubes.
full build out, if all of the phases of this are approved, would be over a year of,
Yeah.
of storage? Okay. And I'm wondering, Jim, how long have you been, so you've been with the city for 36 years, I'm wondering how long you've been CAO?
So I'm coming into my 15th year as CAO. I'm in my 15th year as CAO.
Okay. And I don't know if you want to do this in front of everybody, but I was wondering if you could just sort of talk about where you started at the city. I understand.
I can absolutely talk about that. I, like many Dawson Creek kids in the environment we were in those days, I left town to get a job. So I left town to go to university, and then I moved to Montreal for a job. And I moved to Alberta and took a job with the provincial government there, and there was a wedding here. So I came back for a wedding, and there was a job as a surveyor advertised at the city. So I applied for that, and I never looked back.
So surveyor holding a flag.
Absolutely holding a rod at the, that technology doesn't exist anymore, by the way. That's what it was in the day.
And I'm just wondering, I guess from your standpoint, Mr. Mayor, I mean, obviously, it's very rare that you will have someone be in this position for so long, the amount of institutional knowledge that's built up in kind of one person. I mean, how concerned are you, obviously there's going to be succession planning, but I mean, how big a concern is it that all of that institutional knowledge will be?
You really take for granted some days what you have, and so exactly that's the issue for us as we move forward into the future is you lose that huge, vast knowledge and experience that somebody has of not only in the role of the chief administrative officer, but specifically for your community. And so when council are talking about the water system or the sewer system or the roads or this policy or that, you've got somebody who's been involved in the city, has all of that knowledge and experience. And so that's the new person coming in council is guided by the information that their administration give to them and how we make our decisions. And so your best decisions are made when you get the best information. And that best information comes obviously from people who have the knowledge, the capacity, the competency, and the experience. And we lose that when Jim leaves the organization. And so that's the future of us, is how do we ensure that we move it forward. And the benefits for us today are we have 18 months of knowing that we're going to go through this succession process of hiring a new CAO. And we get to have some time to transfer that future view of our organization and hopefully and council can deliberate in terms of what structure it is we want to take place and how we're going to hire and all of those things. It's a big time decision for this council and this community.
And just a last question, I was wondering if I could get just sort of a comment. So you finally approved the contract for demolishing these buildings that have been kind of on the docket for a number of years now. I mean, how, just give any sort of comment on the fact that those buildings will finally be coming down?
Your community every day, we come in here, we're trying to move the bar higher. We're not looking for perfection, you're looking to move the bar higher, and I use that term a lot. And so this is one way that we get to move the bar a little higher for our community, in my view. Because now we have these old facilities, we don't have to worry about, the grandstands. All of a sudden we have to make a snap decision, are we gonna spend 700 grand on them or not? And you don't have the dough sometimes to do these things. So if we ever got faced with making a fast decision, now we can plan it, right? We can plan for the demolition of them, and it's for the benefit of our community, because now those vacant parcels of land become valuable assets to us in planning the future of our community for whatever purpose. But as long as they're there, you got to worry about the risk of something happening to them, the financial impacts of that, and you can't move forward in planning for the growth of your community as long as they're still there. So it's a very cool thing to be able to see them go down.
It's a good day.
Perfect, thank you.
It's a good day, Johnny.
Taking note of that.
That it?
That's all from me, yeah.
Thank you. Anything? Good. Thank you. So, media recess to closed, please.
Well, thank you. You're not wearing your Trump hat.
Moved by Councillor Schumann, seconded Councillor McFadden. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.